Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now first, let me congratulate, it's February the 18th, let me congratulate the new president of ABC Network here in the United States. It's an African-American woman, the first time an African-American has ascended to this position. Let me just congratulate that person. Just understand things like that mean a lot to people like me. Not surprisingly, of course, ABC's having problems. Ratings are down, so of course, just like the U.S. turned to an African-American in 2008, ABC's turning to an African-American when the roof has caved in 2016. I applaud the promotion, the appointment. I look forward to whatever happens at that network. Now let's talk about this heavyweight fight. Anthony Joshua, his first attempt at the heavyweight title. And he's taking on a southpaw, Charles Martin. Now this site is for gamblers, right? It's all about the odds. Right now, many casinos, many betting shops have Anthony Joshua established as a 7-1 favorite, right? You heard right. A guy with less than 20 fights is supposedly a 7-1 favorite to beat a heavyweight champion, right? Now let's just be clear here. In my opinion, this bet makes itself based on fight styles, right? Neither of these guys has much of a back foot game, right? We're in an era in boxing right now where you have guys who are 6'4", 6'5", and taller ruling the roost. Most of them are flat-footed. Most of them are hunters. They're not the hunted. Most of them have to look up in a dictionary what lateral movement is, right? They're not up on their toes. They're flat-footed and they're trying to bang, right? Boxing has become more of a weightlifting exercise, right, than it is an art, right? The guys just don't know how to move around the ring. I look at these two guys, I understand both are unbeaten. Both of them, in my opinion, have major holes in their game. They're athletes, they're punchers, they're hunters. What they're not are mobile guys moving around the ring looking for openings, right? So, neither of these guys, in my opinion, has great survival skills. They don't know what survival skills are, quite frankly. They're accustomed to being the guy pushing the action, not the guy in the ring trying to survive. Charles Martin has gone 10 rounds one time. Anthony Joshua would need a map to know what going 10 rounds is all about. When Anthony Joshua lifted the level of his opposition, when he fought Dillian Whyte, right? That was the first time Anthony Joshua made it past the 4th round. When I see a green guy like Anthony Joshua who doesn't move much, who is a counterpuncher, but who really is just standing around waiting for a slight opening before throwing, right? He's not trying to establish a jab from distance with a multi-round approach, right? His strategy is not, let me get this fight to the 5th, 6th, 7th round and then let me step up and throw punches, right? No. His strategy is early on. I'm sure he's looked at tapes and he's studied his opponent. His strategy is to see that an opponent lingers a little bit too long after throwing a jab with his left hand extended, right? Or an opponent leaves themselves open for counters, and then he tries to, land that big shot, back up the opponent, get them up on the ropes, then finish them. Charles Martin, a southpaw, a little bit more fluid, right? A little bit more fluid. But understand, Charles Martin has a great straight left hand, right? In my opinion, his entire boxing strategy is to try to find ways to walk you into that left hand. I don't see how this fight comes close. to going the distance. I don't. Right? I think Joshua's the better athlete. I think Charles Martin is a little bit more fluid. I think Martin might be a little bit mentally tougher. Right? Looking at films of Martin, he's just determined in the ring. Right? He doesn't seem to be caught up in the moment at all. Right? I'm guessing something happens in this fight early. Now, you're not going to get great odds. This is that rare fight where you're not going to get great odds on Anthony Joshua by KO. Right? You're simply not. You're getting Joshua by KO at reduced odds of something like 1-4. Right? Understand, while the Joshua part of the ledger, simply to win the fight, is 7-1. Because of the VIG, you're not getting 7-1, right, on the Martin side of the aisle, right? In other words, on the Joshua side, I'd have to bet $70 to win 10. Right? On the Martin side, if I bet 10 and he wins, I don't get 70. I get something like 60. The bet I'm recommending here is to take Martin to win the fight. Why? Because we want to take advantage of the longest odds that the casino is offering. I don't want to fool around with an over-under. Why would I do that when the over-under is not going to pay off at the 6-1 that I'm getting on the Martin side of the aisle, or the 5-1 in some shops? Right? Understand, you're not going to send a kid to college on this. But you want to take Charles Martin to simply win the fight. Right? Get the KO plus the distance. Not that it's going to go the distance, but look, if they're paying you 6-1 or 5-1 odds, why not participate in that bounty? Right? Take Martin to win the fight and hedge the play with Joshua by KO. Right? 1-4 are terrible odds. What that means is bet 100 to win 25. They're terrible odds. But understand here, they're affordable odds because you're getting longer than 1-4, right? You're getting longer than 4-1, the flip side of 1-4, on the Martin side of the play. So, hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, let's say I bet $40 on Joshua, right, to win by KO, to win $10, right? Understand, if I bet, $10 on Charles Martin at 6-1 simply to win the fight, then as expensive as the Joshua side of the ledger is, understand, if Martin wins the fight, I actually make $20. Right? If Joshua wins by KO, I don't lose anything. Right? Because I get $10 on that side, right? And all I've bet is $10 on the other side. So do the math based on the odds your casino is offering. Try to make it so that you win. Right? If either Joshua gets the KO or Martin wins the fight, right? Both of these guys are a creature of our current era. Both of these guys are getting better in every fight. Neither is a master, right? Both of these guys are very green, right? I'm expecting a stoppage in this one. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Let me say this too. Charles Martin is so flat-footed that in some fights I've noticed that he'll throw punches and they'll miss by this much. Right? The guy he's throwing the punch at will just simply move away. Right? And the punch will miss by a foot or more. Now, understand, if that happens against Anthony Joshua, if Joshua knows what he's doing, then that's the moment where you'd counter the guy. You understand, he throws a punch, he's missed by a foot. He's extended. If you're clever enough to get him to throw a punch that you know is going to miss you, then you should be able to pivot, come inside, and close the show. Conversely, let me say this. Both of these guys are devastating punchers. It's high risk. You better know what you're doing, right? I've looked at Charles Martin films. I can't figure out his center of gravity, right? He seems to be upright to me. I don't know how he's getting leverage on his punches. But yet when he hits guys with that straight left hand, they're out, right? Guys drop. They're hurt, right? That's a gift. With Joshua, you could see him, you could see his leverage. You could see him leaning into punches and stuff like that. He's easier to read as an opponent than Charles Martin, right? Joshua's green. Understand, Martin, you don't expect the power because he doesn't seem in position to throw the power, right? So this fight has big risks on both sides of the aisle. Understand, because it's a heavyweight title fight, this is scheduled to go 12, right? Anthony Joshua has never gone 8. Just food for thought. Charles Martin went 10, but that's a fight where he's hunting a guy who's moving away from him, not a guy standing there trying to knock him out, right? In my opinion, this fight is going to end by stoppage in the early to middle rounds, right? I believe that's what you have to prepare for because the casino is offering me ridiculous odds on the Martin side of the play. I need that as part of my betting portfolio. So the bet I'm recommending is Martin to win the fight, hedged with Joshua by KO. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.